Evening, people. Big up the chat, big up the panel, big up everybody. Welcome back to the show. I thought we'd do an Arsenal roundabout tonight, get some of the guys on, a little bit of a different panel. Some people you know, some people you do not know. Big up to Kenny, big up to Northside. And a gal reached out to me and said, you got to get hold of African Gooner. He fancies coming on and talking all things Arsenal. Of course, I welcome everybody. How are you, bro? You good?
Doing really, really well. Of course, have a great weekend with Arsenal winning. Unfortunately, Brentford couldn't do the business for us last night, but glad that we're back in the title race.
Listen, we're going to get into it, man. Kenny, you and I were there. We enjoyed it. And it was a lot of scenes before the game and a lot of confidence from some Arsenal fans before the game. Listen, I'm not going to talk about too much about the tactics of the game itself, but I'm going to ask some opinions on it. But I want to ask about the kind of commotion afterwards, not just from Arsenal, the media, and from some of the fan base and some of the neutrals. I think my Wi-Fi is moving mad, people. Sorry. But there was quite a lot of commotion from the media, from Jamie Carragher, from some of the neutral fan base that are all going crazy. Now, if Arsenal lost this game, that was exactly how they all wanted to see it play out. A lot of the media wanted Arsenal to lose this game so they could laugh at us, say we're out of a title, blah, blah, blah. But it didn't work that way for them. So I saw a lot of saltiness, man, and I was quite shocked by it. I really, truly thought there's a lot of fans that would have said, do you know what? Fair dues to Arsenal. Deserved it. Doesn't mean much for Liverpool because they're still in the race, but Arsenal definitely are backing it. They move on and now they've got a difficult game at West Ham. But I didn't see that, Kenny. I saw a lot of toys being thrown out the pram from particulars in Jamie Carragher. I saw a lot of salt from him. I saw a lot of salt from Gary Neville randomly. I saw a lot of salt from some neutral fans. Oh, calm down. It's just the win. And I'm like, wow, if it was just a win and it doesn't mean anything, why are you all so rattled? It made no sense to me. I was so surprised, man. So what do you make of it, Kenny?
Well, first and foremost, you've got to remember we're at the ground and everyone was like euphoric because of the fact that it was relief that we're still in the title race, happiness with the performance. And, we're all at it. Like I said, I had a big cuddle with Harry Symeou. John Cross, I gave him a big cuddle, known him for a few years. I was hugging everyone in sight because it's a great win. But in terms of like the saltiness, you know what? Arsenal fans should take notice of it. The great Arsenal teams had much more saltiness than this. This is nothing compared to the rubbish we had under Arsene Wenger when Arsene Wenger was a great manager until he became a pork chop. But let's get it right. Everybody used to talk about the amount of selling offs we had when we had Petit Vieira, Dennis Bergkamp, all those kind of players, all getting sent off, Martin Keown, Tony Adams, and we used that as a motivational skill, a motivational tool. We didn't cry about it. Who cares what these guys think about us? At the end of the day, we've got the points. Trouble is that they do it because they know that we have a massive social media presence where a lot of people on social media seem to think that they're massive amongst the fan base, and you're just another fan. Relax yourself. So what if Roy Keane don't rate Arsenal and they say Man City's going to win it? So what if Richard Keys and Andy Gray say we celebrate too much? At the end of the day, it's all on West Ham next. Doesn't matter whether they're salty or not. That's what football's all about. It's about rivalry. We're the biggest club in London. There's a lot of fans who hate our success, hate the fact that we won 13 league titles and 14 FA Cups. They hate the fact that we go on about it. But the situation is, so what? Big deal. That's what it's got to be. The minute I'd rather see Arsenal fans celebrating us winning trophies. I'd rather see Arsenal fans celebrate us being part of title race. I like to see us in May at Town and Upper Street celebrating at least one trophy. That's what I care about. I don't give a damn about these guys, and nor should Arsenal fans. I get suspicious when Arsenal fans start going and like everyone hates Arsenal. Sometimes I think a lot of the fans are doing it for a few likes and tweets. It's not about you. You're just another fan. It's about the club. It's about the West Ham way. Forget about it. Arsenal. So what people say about us? At the end of the day, I go back years, and this is nothing. This is small fry. The only reason why it gets magnified is because of social media, because Arsenal fans are so easy to wind up. We're the gift that keeps on giving. And it's all because of, vehicles and, like the fan cams. They put themselves out there as super fans. So you're going to get the super fan experience. You're either going to get one extreme to another. You're either going to get love or hate. Deal with it. Come on, West Ham next.
Yeah, big up, man. West Ham next indeed, and we've got to beat them. Otherwise, this weekend means nothing. African Gooner, let's come to you, bruv. What did you
Yeah,
and what do you
very
make of the reaction from the media?
Yeah, very interesting to hear what Kenny Ken says. I think that comes from a very entitled place. From my perspective, obviously he's much older than me and he's experienced playing Liverpool and beating Liverpool, before I was even supporting the club. So for me, this was the first time that I have personally seen us beat Liverpool the way we have. I think in the past 3-4 years, we've been close to beating Liverpool. I know we have with Nelson goals and Lacazette goals, but those really weren't top class goals. The way we beat Liverpool this weekend, we basically beat the best team in the league for me. So that's something that we should celebrate. And I think, this season we've kind of overturned a lot of the curses or voodoos against some of the teams that we haven't beaten in the past. And this for me was a good stepping stone to show that this team is getting closer and closer to being there every single season, challenging with the best, aka Man City and Liverpool. In terms of the reaction, I think, yeah, as Kenny Ken said, Arsenal being a big club, I think a lot of rival fans are waiting for us to fail because we did so well last season with the manager that we have, the youngest, manager in the Premier League, or one of the youngest in the Premier League, and the youngest squad as well in world football. So people are waiting to tell us, oh yeah, last season was just a fluke, and they hate that this season we're challenging again. So obviously there's going to be this reaction of saying, hey, you know what, you're still third, haha, you're still not there. I'm expecting that, but for me, this was a great win. I'm going to celebrate it all the way. To see the way Martin Odegaard was taking pictures of Stewart, I mean, that's real captain material. That's real leadership. That's real chemistry in the team. We haven't seen that. I mean, if we think of the likes of Aubameyang, Lacazette, Guendouzi, you would never have seen this, from those players. So it's a real great mentality shift in this team. And I'm really, really excited to be an Arsenal fan in 2024. I've waited a long time to be here.
Interesting, man. Listen, if that's what makes you a good leader, bro, then you're different to me, mate. Taking a picture of our photographer, but
I mean,
he's to their own, isn't it?
It's not the only thing that makes you a good leader, but it's a good sign to me. That's all I'm saying. I see it as a positive thing.
I get what you're saying, man. I get what you're saying, but Northside, what's all the commotion about, bro? We won a game of football and everyone's losing their heads. Not Arsenal fans; they're quite happy, rightly so, but I just find it bizarre. I really didn't expect this reaction, bro. I'm like, just say what you think about Arsenal being Liverpool and we move. Like, Arsenal needed to win that game. I thought we deserved it. I was really impressed with a few performances that I want to mention in a minute. But what do you make of all this commotion, bro?
Yeah, for me, I just think it's whatever, really. Like, some of these players, let's be real, some of these players, they're legends for their clubs, and they're fans also of their clubs. So along with sometimes being a fan, especially in England, the majority of English fans are biased. You know what I mean? Then come with agendas. So I'm not really surprised. I think they just showed their hand in being a fan, and they were more given their opinion from a fan perspective than being a professional pundit and giving Arsenal the props where props is due. But I just think, look, rivals are going to do what rivals do. I don't really care. I think any Arsenal fan that's getting upset by that, I think they're more insecure than anything else. You know, if you're happy with the win and if you believe in this project and this manager, then just be happy. Regardless of what the pundits say, it doesn't take away that we got 3 points. So who really cares? You know what I mean? Arsenal fans need to have a bit of thick skin, man. Everything is always a conspiracy or this and that. Listen, sometimes I agree with them. Like I said, I don't agree with what Carragher said. I don't agree with what Neville said. I don't care. They're Liverpool and Man United legends. You know what I mean? They've got no loyalty to this club. They're not a fan, so I don't really care. And regardless of their opinion, the fact is we got the 3 points, so who really cares? You know what I mean? Listen, I saw your video. I saw your video that you sent me today of you going in through all the comments that you get. Does that stop you uploading? Yeah. Does that stop you getting views? No, I get it as well. Top Goon is getting rattled because I don't look at football through an emotional lens, and I say it as I see it. Doesn't stop me uploading, doesn't stop me still getting subscribers, doesn't stop my views, doesn't stop anything. You know what I mean? And I just think Arsenal fans just need to grow a bit of thick skin. Like, at the end of the day, the rest of the Premier League are not Arsenal supporters. So they're going to run their agendas. They're not going to give you props. Right, it is what it is. Like, why should they? They don't support our club. So who cares? At the end of the day, I was happy with the performance, and that's all I cared. I saw it. I laughed. I said, that's ridiculous from Carragher. And I just kept it moving. I couldn't care less. Why do I care about Carragher's opinion? Why do I care about Neville's opinion? Do you know what I mean? It's whatever. And let's be real. A lot of Arsenal fans like to laugh at our rivals as well. You know what I mean? So sometimes you give it and sometimes you got to take it. You know what I mean? So it is what it is, man. It comes around in circles. We do what we need to do. Hopefully we just get it over the line and win the league. It's irrelevant what everybody else has to say. Do you know what I mean? So it's what it is.
Yeah, fair one, man. Listen, Kenny, it was mad because I looked at it, the celebrations at the end. I was enjoying it. Fans were enjoying it. It was a big win. And to be fair, we rattled a lot of people. It got really under people's skins, really under people's noses. They all wanted Arsenal to lose this game so they could laugh and go Arsenal at the title race again earlier, right? But let's be real. I look at it, Kenny, and I feel like there is no way you can deny that Arsenal didn't deserve to win that game. So then they have to try and think of something else. It wasn't like, oh, Arsenal got lucky, can't use that one. It was just basically them getting a bit salty. So I liked that. I think that's funny. It gets under right up people's noses, gets under people's skin, and it's good. But the performance itself is what I think Arsenal should actually take some positives away from, because as bad as Liverpool were, I thought Arsenal were really good. I thought we dominated pretty much the whole game. I know they had a spell in like the 10 minutes of the second half, but Liverpool never really looked like winning that game or peppering our goal, if I'm honest with you. David Raya, I think he collected it once from a shot on target. The rest of the game was all Arsenal. We didn't exactly pepper Liverpool's goal either, but we definitely deserved to win the game, man. And for me, a few players to mention, definitely the two in midfield. Jorginho and Declan Rice, for me, were clear of everybody, Kenny. And I think moving forward, I'd quite like to see what that double pivot can offer, man. What's your thoughts?
I don't think that you're going to see that double pivot in all the games. You're going to see it's going to be a horses of courses situation, because what you're going to have a situation where if Jesus comes back, he's going to still want to incorporate Kai Havertz in the midfield. So in certain big games, you will see Jorginho, because there's going to be situations where the little ball we have, say against Man City, he's going to want us to keep the possession. So Jorginho is a lot better than that, than Kai Havertz. Got Kai Havertz, but in certain games, he is going to play Kai Havertz. Like, for instance, I don't necessarily expect Jorginho to play against West Ham. I expect, the midfield to be a little different. I wouldn't be surprised if I see Kai Havertz alongside Odegaard and Declan English. You know what I mean? That's the whole situation. In terms of how we played, the reason why we won the games, because our tempo was brilliant. Our tempo was really fast. Like I said, in that 15-minute period that we always have in most of our games, and not all of them, we scored during that 15-minute cycle. Brilliant goal as well. Good play. I learned something that was right before my very eyes, but I ignored it. Kai Havertz has got pace. Didn't realise that. There were times in that match when Kai Havertz was bombing down that left-hand side. I said, oh, yeah, Martinelli. Bloody hell, it's Kai Havertz. That's how I felt when you see it live. I thought, props to Kai Havertz, because he was an absolute nuisance. He occupied the defenders. He gave Konate a run for his money. Don't get me, Konate, there were still instances when Konate won quite a few of the battles, but he gave us that presence where he could hold the ball up. And that's something we miss quite a lot sometimes when, Jesus plays. Also, Declan English, when Liverpool were trying to wrest control of that game, the way he was recovery tackles, making interceptions and driving us forward in times. There was a period in the second half when he drove us forward. But Jorginho as well kept possession. Really, really pleased with him. Like the defence, there was a bit of sloppiness for Liverpool's goal, but all in all, it was a very, very good team performance. And, Saka and Martinelli, they weren't exactly at their firing best, but the most important thing that is more important than the performance was actually the goals, because coming into this running, one of the things we're going to rely on heavily is we're going to need goals from Kai. We're going to need goals from Martin Odegaard. Odegaard hasn't scored the goals he was scoring last season. So that's a shortfall. Saka and Martinelli, as much as we like them to, have eight plus performances, we're going to probably need goals, because that's going to be our route into this title race. If you look at the goals that, that we're seeing from, Man City and obviously Liverpool's starting lineup, it's going to be a case where we're going to need them big time. But so far, so good. It's a fantastic performance. And there's actually a bit of a replica of the cup game where we were dominant. We were pressing them into submission. Jorginho was the extra man in midfield. And that it took for them in the second half to up that tempo in order for them to get back in the game. And they kind of did it in the second half when they came at us, because they got the impetus from that equaliser. And I think that where Liverpool went wrong was that time when they were on top, they didn't score. The minute you don't score during that period and you tire, and then the game kind of fizzles out and we take a bit of control. They missed a boat then, and then, you know, it could have been a 1-1 game, which would have been an injustice. But thank God for Van Dijk, because I blame Van Dijk for their goal. I don't blame, you know, the goalkeeper, because I always believe you're a defender, you're the boss. You're the boss, mate. If you've got feet, you're the boss, man. And I think that's where it all went wrong. But that's what we do in Liverpool. If you've got you take teams, you create pressure, and, you know, in pressure, and put, you know, their defence under pressure, then we were going to win the game. Props to you know, Trossard as well. You know, he probably felt, you know, grief not starting, but he comes on and scores a great goal. So that's another player that we need to rely on really heavily. But in all intents and purposes, realistically, because I think it's going to be too close to call, there's going to be no margin for error. I don't think we can even afford to drop points, because I really do think that both Liverpool and Man City are going to win the majority of their games. I think the only 6 pointers that Liverpool and Man City are going to have is probably a 6 point. Man City are going to have a 6 pointer against us. You know, Liverpool and Man City are going to have their 6 pointers, and then both sides are going to have tricky games against teams that are going to try and get the top 4. So it's one of those things where blink you miss.
Interesting, man. Interesting. Before I come African Gunner, Northside, I messaged Jess earlier, see if she's free. She's not free tonight. She said, "Oh, can you ask Northside what you thought of Jorginho's performance and if he'd still rather have El Nini?" So I'm being the messenger, man. What did you make of Jorginho, bro?
Tell her, don't worry. End of the season, we'll talk. No worries. You know what I mean? It's funny, yeah, because I was on Judge Mo. A lot of people on his channel the Arsenal lot get rattled by my takes on Arsenal on that channel. They're like, get him off. The last couple of get him off the channel as soon as we win. Get him on. Where's Northside? Get him on. Has he finished his fan cam? Get him on. Oh, all right. Then. You know what I mean? It's like, why did you care about me? We just won. Be happy, innit? Be happy. But yeah, on the game, we addressed something that I wanted to be addressed, and that was the way that we're playing football. I didn't like this new way that we started playing football this season, and I was calling for us to revert back to the way that we were playing last season. And for that, I give Arteta credit for. Let's start with the things I give him credit for. The play style I give him credit for. The lineup I give him credit for. Utilizing Jorginho to control the midfield, I give him credit for. And the way he tried to just, you know, kill off Liverpool, and the way we set out. So I'll give him credit for that. And I was happy with the majority of the players. I think Havertz at times was frustrating me. I think he goes to the ground too easily. At times he's running through the midfield. As soon as another player comes alongside him, he drops to the floor. There was another time he was in the box. Instead of holding up the ball, as soon as a defender tries to put in a tackle, he drops to the floor again. He's way too weak. I know he played a lot better than he has before, but let's not forget the standard he's picking up from is literally bottom of the barrel. So listen, for me, I'm still expecting more from Kai Havertz for him being our third highest signing. I still wanted more. I didn't think he was completely trash, but yeah, I don't rate the player, and I don't think his performance was amazing, but it wasn't the worst, may I say. That's the nicest way I can put it. You know what I'm saying? Nah, but it's true though, because you're playing through the middle, yeah? That chance that Saka scores, yeah? It's like, bro, you're one-on-one with the goalkeeper. Bro.
He had to score, man.
He has to score 100%.
Do you know what I mean? It's like, bro, you're our third highest signing, bro. Like, you've got to deliver, bro. Like, it's not even one of them ones, oh, he'll come good. Nah, you came in for big money, bro. You have to perform. And you're in front of goal. You're not scoring. That's the only one thing that the main thing that people have been telling me that he brings to the team. You've got to score that chance. You know what I mean? And I think we played well. The only thing that still frustrates me is the fact that it takes us, once again, up until the 70th minute to put the team to the sword. Against Nottingham Forest, it took us 70 minutes. After all the chances, took us 70 minutes. This game, I think it was the 67th minute where we scored our second goal, when in reality, we was playing so well in the first half. We should have been at least 3-0 up.
3-0. Yeah.
You know, we played so well that we created the chances. It's not that we didn't have the chances, and it's not been an issue that we haven't created the chances. It's burying those chances. That chance with Martinelli, when he runs down the wing, crosses it into Saka in the box. You've got to finish that. You're one-on-one with the goalkeeper. You have to. If we're going to win the league, you have to. It can't be, oh, you know, pick it up next one. You have to put teams to the sword, because there's going to be games where us, you know, wait until the 70th minute to put teams to the sword. We're not going to be able to get back into the game. You know, teams will punish us before the 70th minute. And that is the one thing that, you know, ultimately I want to see improved, but we didn't get a striker. But overall, for the performance, I think was very, very good. I think also the only other thing that I didn't like was obviously Saliba. You know, listen, when the defender's got his arms around like this, you can feel Diaz going round you. Once you can sense that he is going round you and you've lost control, just kick it out. There is no need to wait for Raya. You can see Raya's kind of in two minds whether to come out and grab the ball, just kick it out. And this ain't the first time. This is now the second time we see bimbo moments from our centre-backs. Against Nottingham Forest, literally, Awani turned into Kenny Ken and bullied both our centre-backs off the ball and scored. Yeah, and now this time Diaz getting around Saliba. So we need to tighten up because we didn't get a striker. And if we're gonna really have a proper chance of winning the league, we need to make sure that we're not making mistakes at the back because we don't have a focal point. We don't have a striker that's gonna bag us. And ultimately, to everyone that's telling me, oh, just be happy, or we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that. The same team with the same fluidity last season was 8 points clear and still fell short. The goal still ran out and we weren't able to get over the line. And this is why I'm not shocked that we can play like this, because we played like this last season. We have not addressed getting a striker. We have not addressed the bench. And ultimately, it's not... you can be happy about the win, because I was happy with the win. And my match reaction, I was very, very happy. But at the same time, some fans are going a little bit over the top. There was 3 things that needed to be addressed in January. The play style, which looks like he's addressing, reverting back to last season. The bench didn't get addressed. The striker issue hasn't been addressed. So let's not go on that one win now erases the fact that we are still light. And now we've got to get the best out of the same squad, roughly thereabouts, that we had last season, that weren't able to get over the line. And we still have Liverpool in this title race, which we didn't have last season. So listen, be happy about the 3 points, but Arsenal fans also chill a little bit. It's not, winning against Liverpool is not the type of game that, for me, I'm surprised that we win. We struggle against low blocks. Those are the teams that frustrate us. Those are the teams that we're holding on. Against Nottingham Forest, we're holding on at 2-1 because we're not burying our chances. Liverpool team that opens up, we'll bury them. Yeah. If they play a high line, we're all right to deal with that. Now, when the team plays two banks of 4, that is when we're struggling. When you take the space away from Martinelli, you take away the space from Saka, you take away space from our striker. All of a sudden, we don't have a way of breaking teams down. And the Nottingham Forest game, we opened them up. When they had a corner, they committed a high line, and then we hit them on a counter-attack. So we still have not addressed breaking down low blocks. So that's what I'm saying. But I know this fan base, they don't want to hear it. They just, as soon as you win, everything is rosy, everything is fixed. But a bit of balance, I think, needs to be given.
No, that's fair, bro. No, that is fair, bro. That is fair, bro. Listen, African Guna, a couple of comments I'm going to chuck your way. Big up Harry Simu in the chat. Make sure you go follow the Chronicles of a Guna. Gotta love Harry. Great friend of the show and great friend of mine as well. Kai did a great job on Sunday. He's not a good finisher, but the rest of his game was spot on. Got Kenyatte sent off as well. It won't kill you to say it. And I want to throw in a super chat as well from Chaitanya. Chaitanya said, big up, lads. I'm concerned about Jesus. Now he's not clinical enough to be our number 9. And too injury prone to be a backup or right winger. We may need to sell him. Now, of course, African Gunner, he dropped out of the side through injury and then Kai Havertz come in. And I actually agree with Harry. I actually thought personally this was one of the better games from Kai Havertz. And I know he missed a sitter and he's got to score that. But actually he put himself about. He did a lot of good on the ball. I thought personally it was one of his better games. I'm not a huge fan of him. I can't lie.
Yeah.
But I'm going to ask you this. I want to see Kai Havertz in those positions now. I'm sick and tired of seeing this guy trying to play in midfield. I don't want to see him as an 8. I want to see him doing things in the final third because the little good that he has done in an Arsenal shirt, I've said this a few times, actually has gone around the last final third, whether it be scoring goals against Brighton or Luton, whether it be getting last-minute headers against Brentford, doing what he did at the weekend. I think it was flung on in the last few half hour of the game against Man City and created the goal and contributed to the goal that won us the game. That's what I want to see from Kai Havertz. None of this sticking him in midfield anymore, bro.
Dan, you take the words out of my mouth, and that's why I was so excited to come on here, because I think we share a lot of the same mentality. For me, absolutely bang on. I think Northside is a bit harsh on him. Yes, I don't rate him, and I still don't think we should have spent 65 million on him and made him our top earner at the club. But look, what can we do? Retrospectively, we can't go back and change anything. He's going to be here for the next 2 years. So now we need to just look and address what his position is going to be in this team. And it's clear and obvious that it's a striker. He needs to stop playing in the 8. He either starts when Jesus is not fit, or we're playing teams where we need to hold up the ball and he needs to win the headers, And for me, the pivotal thing for me in that game was opening space for Martinelli. We were giving Martinelli balls over the top, and we haven't been doing that. And that's because Kai was coming in and opening that space up for Martinelli, and we were actually playing those balls over the top. I completely agree. When you're one-on-one, you have to be scoring that. And I don't think that a lot of Arsenal fans say that we brought him for his clinical ability, because even at Chelsea, really, he was never a clinical striker. But look, he got away with it. Saka put it at the back in the back of the net. I think if Saka doesn't score that, it's a different picture completely, because people are looking at Havertz saying, yo, you missed that big chance that could have changed the whole game. So look, he got kind of a bit lucky, but I still think this is probably his second or third best game in an Arsenal shirt. And it looks like in terms of chemistry, he's starting to get the group a bit more. He's starting to understand the tactics a bit more, what is required from him. And as Kenny Ken said, he has pace. He has pace. He got Konate red carded. And Konate has been one of the Liverpool's best players. I think better than Van Dijk this season, in my opinion. And we know again in the FA Cup, the way he handled Martinelli. And he's a great player. So to get him red carded, to get him to make bad mistakes and fouls, that you have to give kudos to Kai Havertz. Doesn't mean that I rate him, but at the end of the day, Northside's mentioning a lot of the things that we didn't address. I see where he's coming from. I totally agree with you, bro. But I just choose not to look at backwards and complain and whine about it, because we can't do anything about it now. I just look forward and say, look, we didn't do the business again, because for me, I think we should address the striker issue last January before we got Trossard. The midfield was also last January. I also think we should have done it last January. We still haven't addressed it. So for me, I feel like it's a waste of energy to just be like, we haven't addressed it. We all know we haven't addressed it. We need to address it in the summer. But looking forward now, we just have the Premier League, the Champions League. We got to give it our best shot. We got to support the team. Look, if players are playing bad, I'm going to say, hey, this guy's crap. He's not doing his job. But otherwise, I'm rooting for the team, and I want them to do really well. And I think just to add on that point, I think we're missing a player that was really, really good against Liverpool. Guess who that is?
Jesus, Partey, Timber, Tomiyasu.
No, someone that played that we haven't give credit to.
Martinelli.
Martinelli is my favorite player, so for sure it's always Martinelli. 3 goals in 2 games, but Ben White was absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, he was phenomenal. He was.
Back to his best. When he starts doing those dribbles, that's when he's on it and he has his confidence up. What he did to Curtis Jones, that's a player that is really high on confidence, and he knew what happened in the FA Cup, and he wanted to show him, hey, you tried to nutmeg me and you actually missed the nutmeg. I'll show you how to nutmeg, and he did it. I mean, it was just phenomenal. I think he's a great player, and I think a lot of people are really harsh on him. Really harsh on Martinelli this season, and look, they're coming back into form, and I think they're pivotal key reasons of why we won against Liverpool. So, yeah, overall, I think Kai Havertz played a really, really good game. Not my preferred player, but look, if he can be a squad player and add to this title race, that's all we can.
Sorry to cut you, do you pay 65 million to?
No, definitely not. It's a Pepe. It's another Pepe.
You've got to have a situation where you've got to. The problem with Kai Havertz is that having him in a team, you're experimenting when you're still trying to get in a title. That's something you should be doing in pre-season. Like this season, we basically, because we've basically struggled, trying to incorporate into a team, trying to find a position for him, and try and win a title. And that's why sometimes when you look at our performances over this season, when you talk about free-flowing, exciting, attractive football, we've only played it free-flowing, attractive football probably 5 times. Where you look at some of the games, we've had to go to the well, last-minute goals, Luton, Man United, Brentford, those kind of games. And I think that a lot of that is because we're trying to not do the silly things we did last, concede goals and then get done on the counter-attack, which cost us the title. And we're trying to balance out, trying to control the midfield, making us more compact when we don't have the ball, and incorporate Kai Havertz in the team. But I think that's going to be a continuation this season. I don't see Kai Havertz going back to the bench if Jesus is back, because I think that, as you said, the performance he had on Sunday, there's an argument to keep him in. But then again, it's Arsenal and Jorginho. But I still see Jorginho not as a first teamer, but as a horses for courses guy, European games, auto. Keep possession, big games away at big grounds, keep possession, and I think that's going to be his role this season. I think
it would have been really interesting, Ken, to see if Partey was fit. We would have seen and Timber as well. Once those two are fit, we would really see what our plan is.
You think Partey's injured?
I don't really want to get into that too much, but I'm just gonna say he's injured. I'll play the political card. I don't want to get into that. Look, we're just gonna take it at face
You got
value.
sponsors
Right?
of this show. You got sponsors.
No,
got sponsors.
No.
All right, we could be naughty then because you had sponsors.
Look,
we don't have.
We're making assumptions, right? We don't really know factually what's going on. We're just assuming. Look, maybe that stuff in the background has come up again, and therefore we can't play.
The thing is, African Guna, Genie's out the bottle. The Genie was out the bottle last year when the speculation came, and Barnet Police should have quelled it, and the club should have quelled it, but they just let it run away and let the animals out the cages with this one. You know what I mean?
My view is like once we can play him again, we play him until the end of this season because we can't kid ourselves. He's a great player and we need him in this final stretch and then sell him in the summer.
Big one.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think Partey and Jesus are two players that a lot of people will look at and go, what are we doing with these two? Because the injuries are becoming ridiculous now. And I'm a big fan of Gabby Jesus, but if you need to stay fit, man. Big up to Melton, 1894. Do you know what? Big up, you're right about this. Man City were the only ones that looked this weekend and went, yes. I disagree with the title. He says a lot of City fans wanted Arsenal to do a blow on Liverpool. We're starting to get very giddy at the top of the league. There were a lot of City fans that wanted Arsenal to win this game to make it a lot even. And of course, now Manchester City win their game in hand, they can go top of the league now. So interesting as far as Manchester City are concerned. Let me come back to you, Kenny. This is a game that obviously we had to win to get our title race back on. Do you think that there is... You mentioned something really key earlier about not being able to lose any more games and basically trying to have a perfect end to the season. How realistic is that then, Ken? Like, real talk.
It's not realistic. It's not realistic because you've got to be honest with yourself. You know, West Ham, you know, they had a pumping from Man United. They've already beaten us twice. They're going to be completely up for it. Plus, you know, it's a Declan English derby. You know what I mean? So obviously that's going to motivate a factor. But the thing is, on Sunday, we know if we get the first goal, it's going to be doubly difficult for West Ham to get back in the game. Because I think that heads will go down because they've had the sort of like the mental torture of going around traffic. Let's get this right. West Ham went there thinking they can beat Man United because a lot of teams now fancy their chance at Old Trafford. So it would have been a humbling experience for them to get turned over. So they're going to doubly want to do that. And then you've got, you know, further down the field, Tottenham away. Think about it. They're a better side than they were last season. They're going to have Song back. They're going to have their full defence. They're going to have, you know, Sarr and Basuma in midfield. And they're going to have, you know, Madison, Bentancur. And they're going to have fit players. Plus, they could be, you know, looking for a top 4 or top 3 place. There is no way they're going to want to give us anything. So we're going to have to play to our best of our ability. But that's the beauty of this league. If you want to win the title, you have to go to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, not like we did last January, where it was nothing on it. But this time, on the 27th of April, there's something in it. It's the last furlong of the championship. That's where we've got to win these games. And Aston Villa at home, you don't know what Aston Villa are going to turn up. They may, you know, want to have a go. They've got the players as well. So there's still some really tricky games. But the key game really is Man City away. If we want to land a blow and show that we actually believe we're going to win the title, we have to beat Man City away. Really have to. Psychologically, we have to do that. Not get a draw, but beat them. And that's where I think, realistically, you have to ask questions because it's not going to be easy. You've got, you know, everyone on the panels talks about lack of striker. Yet, we're still going to have to rely on Odegaard to score goals. How many goals has he scored this season in the league? Like 3 or 4?
3. Yeah,
exactly. Saka, you know, he hasn't got that many, you know, in terms of total appearances this season, he's still behind what he was before, but he's getting a goal here and there. Martinelli as well. And then Havertz, we're going to need a lot for him, £65 million. Despite the fact he's not a striker, we know that he's capable of doing the big games, what he did in the Champions League final. Plus, he's done it for Germany. So we're going to need him. So these are the situations where you have to win every game, but the back of your mind, you're thinking, well, who's going to score? As much as you know and look at the opposition, Foden scored an hat-trick yesterday. You know, like Haaland hasn't even clicked yet. De Bruyne's back, you know. Alvarez is scoring goals in Haaland's absence. And then you look at Liverpool, Salah, you know, Jota, who and then you've got Diaz who can come at your goal, and then one of these days, Nunez is going to get it right. So you look at that. Man City have got no weaknesses, in my opinion. We've got weaknesses up front, but in defence we're strong. Liverpool are slightly slightly weaker in defence. Midfield is still a work in progress, but that front five. So all team, it's one of those things where there's no margin of error, because Arsenal and Liverpool fans have to assume that Man City are now got their grit in their teeth. They're on to doing a double, aren't they? The double of the Champions League and League, and a lot of us expect them to do that. We don't expect them to lose any games. So realistically, no margin for error.
No, there ain't no margin for error. Man City, we all know what happens this time of year, especially when they've got KDB and Haaland together now. They're going to kill it. Foden's just scored a hat-trick. He's on fire. So, listen, they're an unbelievable side, man. They really are.
Man United might fluke a win at the Etihad. Don't think it's going to happen. They could lose 6-0. But they got Tottenham, and they never really do well at Spurs away, do they? So those are sort of snookers that we're looking for. But at the end of the day, we've got to look at ourselves. Every game is a cup final now. Title charge doesn't start as it normally starts around late March, April. It starts today. It starts on Sunday because of the fact that Liverpool and Man City. And talking to Liverpool fans are the only people who don't think they're going to win the league. They're the ones who think that they're a work in progress. They see themselves in transition. But I think they're surprised at the fact that they're actually in it. But when you've got that strike force, of course you're going to be in a title race with that strike force. You know what I mean?
Yeah, facts, man. Absolute facts. Listen, people, there's close to 400 of you who have only just hit over 100 likes. So please make sure you hit the like button for me and subscribe to the channel. Make sure you go follow all these guys. Make sure you go follow the African Gooner, Kenny Ken, and of course, Northside LDN. Northside, let's come to you, bruv. Saka and Martinelli in this game a little bit better, particularly Martinelli. I thought he was frightening. I thought he was lightning. I thought he was threatening. That's the sort of performances I need to be seeing from him. And I actually think Martin Odegaard was complimented by Jorginho and Declan Rice. I thought his press was great, and I thought he led by example. And starting to see a little bit more of the Arsenal, I think you said it, from last season. This has got to continue, bruv. We've got West Ham away. We've got Burnley away. There's obviously the Porto Champions League game thrown in that mix as well. And we've got Newcastle at home. What are you expecting from Arsenal in the next few games, bruv? A little bit of momentum?
We have to. I did see Odegaard play a lot better, a lot more direct, releasing the ball, the weight of pass, a lot better. He has the ability. It's just at times he doesn't do it on a consistent basis. Sometimes he plays the safe pass. So he needs to continue doing that. Saka as well, being more direct, running at defenders. Same with Martinelli. And the way we were pressing as well, pressing as a team, pressing as a unit. Sometimes it's only Odegaard pressing, or sometimes it's only Jesus pressing. We don't press as a collective, as a team, as our front three pressing the player all at once. And I think we've done that excellently against Liverpool. And if we can outpress Liverpool, there's no excuse to not do that against other teams. For me, I think West Ham's going to be sticky, because if they approach their game, especially after the arse whipping they got after Man United, if they come to frustrate us, I'm then looking at, okay, Arteta, break them down. What are we going to do? We have no space in behind. There's no space for our front three. You know what I mean? If they're then clamping down Odegaard, which he doesn't like to be clamped in the middle of the park, what's the answer? What are we doing? How are we going to break them down? What are we going to do? And that's what it comes down to. But of course, West Ham is a winnable game. We've got a couple of winnable games, but listen, we should be beating West Ham. We should be beating Burnley. I think Burnley's going to be another game that's going to frustrate us as well. And these are the games that I want to see us show another level to our game. Like I said before, we can play teams if they play a high line. We'll always punish them. We've got the players to do that. But, we need to break teams down. There's too many times this season I've seen us get to the edge of the box, start playing it backwards, sideways. And that's what it's just easy to defend against us when we play like that. But when we get to the edge of the box and we break down our counter attack and we start playing it backwards, sideways, and there's no penetration, and, we try to play the perfect pass and little triangles in the box, and then we're just getting, the other opposition's just putting everyone behind the ball, and there's no way of breaking them down. And some of our wingers not able to cross the ball in the box. And It just listen. If we just need to push on from that, and hopefully we do. Listen, hopefully we do. You already know me. I don't think that we're going to win the league. I don't think this Liverpool result changes much in terms of us being favourites to win the league because of things that have not been addressed. But yeah, it's down to this team. It's down to Mikel Arteta to work it out. It is what it is, bro.
Yeah, it is, man. And to be fair to the team and the manager, I'll give them a lot of praise at the weekend. I thought they deserved it. Listen, African Guna, we've got the next 7 games. 2 of them are obviously Porto home and away, but the next 5 games are very winnable, bro. We've got West Ham away, Burnley away, Arsenal, Newcastle, obviously at the Emirates. We go to Sheffield United and then Arsenal, Brentford. Now, I understand no game's easy, and you look at those games on paper and think, brilliant, let's just get past them, and then we'll concentrate on the travel to the Etihad. But I think we've got to take every game as it comes, my bro. I really do. And West Ham is going to start with a very difficult one. They obviously got this hatred for us at the moment. They're trying to cause rivalry because of the Declan Rice situation. It's weird, man. And obviously they've beaten us twice this season, bro. So we've got to go there and we've got to go and beat them, haven't we?
So, I mean, I think we all know, and this has become more pertinent every season as we go. The league is extremely hard. You can lose against any team. It doesn't matter who it is. So I wouldn't necessarily write off any team and say, hey, these are all easy or winnable games until Man City. We know that that's not the case. In terms of the West Ham, they love to be singing that they're European champions. I don't know why they sing that. It's so embarrassing. They're talking about the Conference League that just, came about like 2 seasons ago. It's just so embarrassing. And then obviously with the Declan Rice, you sold your star to Mikel Arteta. They hate us and they have beaten us twice this season. So I really want us to put the sword through them. We need a thrashing, a 3-4-0. But something I'm going to agree with on North side is, look, we beat Liverpool, but that's because they're quite open. But in terms of the low blocks, he's right. We still haven't figured that out. And for me, the biggest frustration is when we play against them, we're trying the same old crap as if we have Giroud in the middle that's going to score the header. And we keep trying that over and over again. And we keep recycling. What I want to see is start shooting from outside the box. Like, it's so obvious. You don't need to be a coach. You don't need to be a manager. And something for me specifically that I think a lot of people don't talk about is that in the last 10 minutes in these types of games, you see Declan Rice starting to take long shots because he's the only one who's like cueing that he needs to start taking shots from distance because the tactics isn't working. And I haven't seen this change throughout the season. From the beginning of the season, we've been getting away with it or getting lucky in a lot of the games where we've been playing against low blocks and we've been scoring maybe 1 or 2 goals, dominating the play and getting kind of a lucky goal. And then, Gabriel with the set pieces, we saw it again. We got lucky. We got away with it again. So as Northside said, for me, it's great that we beat Liverpool. I see it a bit differently than him. I celebrated completely because we haven't beaten Liverpool like that in a very long time. It was a very good time for me. But now if we go to West Ham and it's the same crap all over again, where we can't break them down and we're dominating with 80% possession and, we have all the shots on target and then they counter and score 1 goal off 1 shot. We just know that's the script, right? We know how it goes. So I need to see that improvement for me. And I think that goes along with Newcastle. We know Newcastle's a really strong team as well. Brentford also a really strong team. So I think tactically for me, I want to see some change moving forward. It's going to be really interesting because I think Jesus is coming back, right? Arteta said he's not out for too long. So now what? Does Havertz come back out of the team? Do we force him back in the 8? I don't really want to see that, to be honest, at all. I think that's going to be really important going forward, is changing the tactics. And if we don't, guys, I think the fan base, I think we're on ice right now. We beat Liverpool. We completely dominated them. But then if we go back to how it was, then he loses some credibility for me, right? And the fans start to question a little bit again. And then that builds up. And then if we get knocked out of the title race or knocked out, we lose against Porto, then the questions start rising again about whether Arteta is really the man and the 500 million we spent and the 5 seasons and all that negativity starts coming back up. And, I don't want us to get there. So I really hope they work on this on training because personally, I don't think they've done it at all. I haven't seen it. And we've been struggling against this same problem for a very long time. So I really hope and pray that they've been practicing to shoot because it looks like since they went to Dubai that we're starting to do a little bit better in front of goal.
Kenny, we've got 5 weeks, which is going to tell us whether we're going to be winning anything this season. The next 5 weeks is going to do that. Now, if I was to say to you, got these fixtures coming up, and this is going to be vital. We've got Porto home and away in the Champions League, and we've got those fixtures coming up. I think you'd be fair to say, do you know what, Dan? There's no excuses there. we should be going and taking majority of points against those sides. Now, I know it's not easy, brother, and it's never like that. Yeah, it's never like just go win those 5 games. It's easy. But at the end of the day, that's what we're going to have to go and do to win this. Now, would you make any sort of form of changes with players coming back against in any of those games, West Ham and Burnley going ahead? Do you think Kai Havertz will start to kind of be our main striker now and until Jesus sort of comes back into the mix? Or do you think that Mikel might switch it around in midfield and up top again in the coming games?
It depends on the player's fitness and tiredness. But what an indictment to Eddie Nketiah, isn't it? You think about it.
You know, about him.
Wow, yeah.
What an indictment that the player he was given the keys, because none of us. I can't speak for Afrin Guna, but I know Northside and myself and you, Dan, do not want any anywhere near the side. Yeah,
I'm there too, Kenny. I'm there too.
You must look at that and think, what the hell is happening here? Jesus is injured. Last season, he got a run, and he scored a double against Man United. Now he's not even considered. It says a lot about how much how patient Arteta is. But the situation in terms of the games, I say it with fortitude, testicular fortitude, that we are going to beat Burnley and Sheffield United because they're terrible. It's not being arrogant. They're awful. Sheffield United are just mentally in the Championship. And I think Burnley are as well. They are mentally, because you score early against those teams, you can run away with it. But you still have to be focused. You still can't, like I said, rotate players. You have to keep going because you never know. You still have to be ruthless, because sometimes when you rotate and start, playing probably Eddie up front and trying to rest players, that's where it'll go to pear-shaped. So those games that give me, West Ham is going to be extremely, extremely tricky because of the fact that they think they can beat us and they're going to be motivated. But we score early, I think heads will go down. After West Ham, obviously we've got to mention Burnley. Newcastle is going to be a different kettle of fish because there is quality in that team. Even though they're very inconsistent, they're still in the FA Cup. They still got players like Anthony Gordon. They've got Ashley Barnes now who's come back for fitness. They've got Isak up front. And they've got Trippier who's in. They've got internationals in that team, and they've already beaten us this season. And they actually developed a formula against us at the Emirates like last season, where the thing that everyone hates, low blocks, make themselves difficult to beat. They're going to just play the same way. They're going to defend like Trojans. They've got Dan Burn. They've got Botman back, so they're looking strong again. So that's going to be a game where, if we do win, there's probably going to be like euphoric celebrations, because that 8 o'clock kickoff under the lights. It could be a situation where we could score a late goal. That there would be euphoria because they're a good team. And then after that, you've got Sheffield. Already mentioned them. They're an embarrassment. They're like a stain that needs to get out of the Premiership, because you can't put up that first-class rubbish each week and call yourself a Premiership team. They actually bastardise, the theory that the Premiership's the best in the world. You can't call yourself a great Premiership when you've got rubbish like that in there. This goes back to Swindon and Derby. But, hope it's not famous last words. Then you've got Brentford. The reason why Brentford's tricky is all down to the Ivan Toney thing. Even though that they made some, like I said, tactical mistakes yesterday against Man City, you always know now they got Ivan Toney. Plus, you've got the Trossard, not Trossard, Mope, who's a pain in the arse. I mean, the guy must be he must have a black belt in karate or something, because I'm surprised he hasn't been knocked out, sparked out. You know what I mean?
He is nuts, isn't he?
Reincarnation of Joey Barton.
I know. He's got to be a black belt in martial arts, because if I was doing that, I'd be spark out, because that he is taking liberties after liberties. But again, getting in their heads, that's going to be an emotional game because of him, because Ivan Toney. So that's going to be a tricky one, because last season they played really well and nicked a point of us. So that's a game where we've got to be on it. And then you've got a situation with Chelsea where you don't know what Chelsea's going to turn up. If if they get smashed in the League Cup final against Liverpool, then heads go down. And then they'll be just waiting for the season to end, because who knows, they could be, if we're playing Chelsea in the 16th, that means they're at the FA Cup. So these are the sort of games we got to think about.
They might have a new manager bounce.
Exactly. That's what we don't want. We want the Poch to stay, because if the Poch stays, then the new manager, as long as they might want to prove something to the new manager. So they're all tricky games, but as you say, they are winnable. And the reason why they are winnable, because we have to win them. But we're going to have to play out of our skins, because as everyone's alluded to, there's no striker, so people just got to put their hands up, and when we need a goal, then we have to come out of it. It doesn't have to be the same person. It could be Gabriel from a set piece. It could be Declan English from 25 yards. It could be Saka, Martinelli, Trossard. Yeah, and obviously Kai Havertz. £65 million. Earn your money, mate. This is in this running, we're going to need goals, and obviously Odegaard as well, who does try to shoot, by the way, but everyone's sussed him out now. They're not giving him any kind of sight of goal from 20 or 30 yards, because
he doesn't shoot with intent. Just shoots because he feels he needs to shoot. He's not shooting with intention and confidence.
Because he's trying to get that angle in it. He's trying to get that angle, because that's one of the reasons why he's not shooting as much, because teams know what he's going to do. But that running is important. But the thing about it as well, if we go to Champions League, I do think it's going to have a kind of an effect psychologically on us going into the running, because I think a lot of our players, and they should see Porto as a pathway into getting further into competition. But the thing is, Porto have got a better pedigree in Europe than we have, so they're going to look at that game, and that's probably going to be our most difficult game in about European game in years, because of the fact that there's so much on it. I've seen and I think, sadly, that's where our lack of striker is going to kill us against Porto in the Champions League, against teams that have got a goal threat and who defend a lot better than teams in the Premiership. That's where I do think that I worry about Porto. I worry that we could go out because of our lack of striker.
Yeah, listen, I'm worried about the Champions League, of course, because in the Europa League we struggled. We've gone out to teams such as Olympiacos, Villarreal, Sporting Lisbon. The difference is that we were playing our squad players in those games, and now we cannot do that. If we do that, we're going out. Let's be real.
Sorry, cut you down, but remember last season, one of the reasons why Man City finally got over the line in the Champions League is Haaland, didn't it? He scored 52 goals, 36 of them were in the Premiership. The other 16 were in the Cups, including the Champions League, and that kind of got them to the promised land. We haven't got Haaland. Yeah, Roger as well. So we haven't got someone who can put the ball in there. And I do think that's going to be fatal in the last 16 against against Porto, who I think who I know for a fact a lot better than Sevilla, Lens, and PSV.
That's true.
I think it's going to be quite a dirty game against Porto, in my opinion. I don't think it's going to be what people think, 2-3-0, we're going to smash them out the park. I think it's going to be quite close, and we'll narrowly go through. And then I'm just praying for a good draw, because then I think we can go quite far, maybe semifinals if we get a good draw. So,
wow, let's see, man. I've got to get through Porto, man. We really have to. Also, let me throw this comment at you, bro. Jonathan says, February's huge. Get through it. Timber, Party, back by the end of the season. Big up the panel. Come on, you Gunners. Now, listen, I think Party's done. I don't want to even mention Party. He's crocked. So let's talk about the others. Obviously, Timber and Tomiyasu are two that will be returning soon. Tomiyasu's back now because Japan, I believe, went out, unless, correct me if I'm wrong. And then you've obviously look at Timber, who's been out for so long. Our bench is pretty weak, bro. I can't lie, Northside, it is, but that will add a little bit to it. I like Tomiyasu and Timber personally. I don't think they're going to pull up trees for Arsenal, but they're two players that I actually do rate. And I think what I've seen of Timber, it was really looking good, and it's just unlucky that he got the injury. But we're still struggling in terms of the bench. Now, I actually think with Tomiyasu, with Timber, with playing Havertz in a different dimension role, not in bloody midfield, having Trossard, having smith-rowe, we've got a couple options there now, which are better than flinging on Nelson and Eddie. Because when we were flinging on Nelson and Eddie, in the last few games, I'm not going to lie to you, bro. I was sat there with my dad in the ground, just like deflated, like, oh, we're not weakening our squad here, man. Like, what is happening? And Saka and Martinelli have started to impress the last couple of games a bit more. So obviously that's looking good. But is there any glimmer of hope that you have when we get a couple of players back that we might actually start to see a couple of different options at Arsenal that we haven't seen so far this season due to the injuries to the importance of, say, Timber, for example? What's your thoughts going into this one, bruv?
For me, I think Tomiyasu will do wonders for us, for our chances if he comes back. When Tomiyasu got injured, I was annoyed because he was on such a good role, man. Such a good role. Like the way he was dictating play from the back, the way he was supporting Saka going forward, just the way he was playing, bro. He was playing with confidence, like literally doing everything. And he wasn't defensively. The thing is, he was playing so well going forward, and defensively, he wasn't costing us. And that's what I was liking about the way he was playing. And I really wanted to see a whole season of him playing at Arsenal, because he always gets his season cut short. You know what I mean? There's always something. He gets a knock or something happens. And that was just unlucky for him, man, because he had a lot of confidence. He was playing really, really well. And with players like him, like I weren't really rating him, but when he started to perform like that, I'm like, I want players to prove me wrong. Do you know what I mean? I actually want players to prove me wrong. They play for the club I support, so I want them to prove me wrong. And he was on his way. I need to see a whole season before I change my mind on the player. But he was playing really, really well. So if he comes back with the form that he had before he got injured, that's a big boost. I think for Timber as well, on the left-hand side, that's another boost as well. Because Zinchenko, for everything he does through, like, in terms of going forward, he's still a liability defensively. Let's not forget, you know, him getting cooked on his side against Aston Villa. There's been games this year where he's been cooked on that left-hand side, Zinchenko. So Timber, from what we saw of him before he got injured, even though it wasn't as much as we've seen from Tomiyasu, I think defensively he's a lot better, a lot more solid than Zinchenko on that left-hand side. So both of them players coming back is a lot more solid. But for me, when you're talking to me about ESR, bro, like, when he came back, bro, he looked like a pot belly version of Gordon Ramsay, bro. I was not impressed. I don't really think this guy's good enough, bro. He looked out of way.
Really?
Yeah. Nah. I'm sorry.
He's one of them players.
No. He's one of them players just because he's young and all of that. Like, oh, he runs around.
I didn't mind him. I must say, I didn't mind it. But go on, I'll let you.
In the last game, he was decent.
Decent isn't enough to win the league.
No, I know, but he hasn't had consistent games, bro. I hear what you're saying, but like, also the manager has just killed him.
I just don't think he's good. Listen, when Arteta first come, ESR was playing a lot better. But let's not go on like ESR has ever proven himself to be the missing link or a player that should be started. He's a player with potential, and he's not fulfilled his potential because of injuries. But ultimately, ESR is not the difference between us winning the league or not. We're not all saying our title hopes are over if ESR gets injured. The player
ESR has more goal contributions than Kai Havertz, though. We can't deny that.
Why are you mentioning Kai Havertz when we've all said that Kai Havertz ain't good enough? Why are you comparing?
Because Kai Havertz in the team, right? And he's playing the same position. He's playing the same position.
Yeah, but you said when we mentioned Kai Havertz, you said you don't rate him. I don't rate him. None of us rate him. So is he the bench?
I don't.
Okay, cool. So
I think he should be on the bench, and I think Smith-Rowe should be in the 8. That's my personal view.
But comparing him to Kai Havertz as if Kai Havertz is the benchmark is ridiculous. Is a ridiculous take.
Yeah, but in this season, who plays the 8 for us? It's Kai Havertz.
Most of our midfielders are better than Kai Havertz, though. Most of them are.
Yeah, that's
so.
Fair.
What are we talking about here? Listen,
fair.
as I was saying, ESR for me off the bench ain't gonna affect our title hopes. The same with the majority of the bench. You know, Trossard is playing really well. I rate Trossard as a player. I was glad to see him get a goal. But our bench is still too light. Let's just keep it real, Dan, bro. Like, at the end of the day, even with them two players coming back, we ain't winning the league. It just is what it is. We ain't winning the league. We ain't addressed where we're weakest at. We ain't addressed where we came up short last season. Whether some people say it's because we didn't have an option for Saliba when he got injured. We still got that same scenario this season. If one of our centre-backs get injured, is anyone really confident with Kivior? I'm not. Because he's not of the level. You know, if Saka gets injured, are we expecting Reece Nelson to step up? He ain't good enough. You know what I mean? And that's just the reality of it. Like, the bench is not that great. Eddie Nketiah, if we're going to rely on Eddie Nketiah, is he able to get us over the line? I remember 2 seasons ago, 10 games to go, he couldn't even get us top 4 over Tottenham. So this is the thing. Like, yes, those 2 players as individuals strengthen us, but there's so much that needed to be addressed that ain't been addressed, that we can have a fully fit squad, and I don't believe that we're winning the league because we just don't have the players to get us over the line. And if anyone thinks that, because we beat Liverpool with the fluidity, as I said before, we had fluidity last season for 93% and an 8-point cushion, and we still didn't get it over the line. So why now that we're the chasing pack? Yeah, it's better to chase than to be chased now.
It's better to lead, man. It's better to lead. Better to lead all the time.
They weren't saying this. They weren't saying this, Kenny, when we were 8 points in front last season. But now it's the reverse.
It's also the thing about it. It's about motivation, and positivity. I suppose you have to take the positive spin out of every situation you're in, and that's what managers do. And sometimes, some of our fans can be positive in that situation. But realistically, right? In terms of numbers, we do have 2 players for every position. But the problem we've always had at our great club, especially in the last few years, is that there's a gap in quality between our starters and the people who come to the
bench. Huge. And
you can't really say it at Liverpool. And even if initially, when you look at Liverpool and you say there's a gap between the starters and the bench, those kids who come on have taken their chance with both hands. I mean, if God bless his father's soul, but Conor Bradley was didn't lose his dad. He may have started ahead of Trent Alexander-Arnold. Now, if a couple of months ago, you wouldn't be saying that, but he's taking the balls by the horn. Liverpool can actually say we could have done with fit Conor Bradley in that. Not that it would have made a difference, but he was flying. And then his dad, God bless his son, lost his life. They probably had to rush back Trent Alexander-Arnold, and then after 66 minutes, they'd taken him off. Just a fault. But that's the thing. Every one of those youngsters have taken their place. And even when they've lost 2 left backs, Gomez is going to take his chance. So even though initially there's a gap of quality between the starters, probably in defence and midfield, everyone's come and done their bit. We don't have that at Arsenal. There's certain players who just haven't got it in them to grab their chance at both hands and then give their manager something to think about. I think in ESR's case, I just think that the manager's already made his mind up on ESR, because I do think that with Emile, I can think of 3 or 4 players that the manager will start over Emile, and that it's very difficult to get Emile a game when he's got players in front of him in certain positions, and it's even difficult even for him to get even off the bench. That's the situation. But the problem is, in saying that, the manager looks at our bench, especially when we were going through that, Lauren Hardy moment over December. He looks at that bench and went, "Oh God, I can't. That guy can't win me. That guy over there can't get me in that game. That guy over there can't help me win a game." So, but because these players are tired, what I'm going to do, rather than get them on, I'm just going to roll the dice and see what one number comes up, and I'll just pick him. That's how it looked like when we were going through our bad patch before we went to Dubai. And that's the situation. We've got to get into a situation where the bench has to be closer in quality to the starters. And even so, if they're not, they've got to make the manager think, you know what, I can get into that position. I can give the manager something to think about. I'm going to take my chance. Come on, man. Conor Bradley, a lad, he's been on loan at Bolton, comes back, and he's made his manager give him something to think about. Kwanzaa as well, a kid. Yet you've got Reece Nelson still going on like he's made his debut. He's still a debutant 5 years down the line. Eddie Nketiah, come on, man. Either they haven't got it, or they just haven't got the bottle to be Arsenal players. Because come on, come on. And then you look at Oscar Bob at Man City. Oscar Bob, he's come on, and he's at it. All right, I do understand that sometimes when you come in a successful environment where you're amongst winners, it's very easy for fringe players to make that transition and play well. Yeah. I do get it, but you still have to have it within you to take your chance. And that's the problem with our players. The defensive players ain't letting us down. Tomiyasu has turned himself into a player that we now depend on. He was a fringe player when he first came here. He could play either left back or right back. But right now he's fully fit. There's an argument to drop either Zinchenko or Benjamin White because it's Tomiyasu. He's done it. You know,
we do have that in certain positions, like for example, Rice and Partey, and I don't hear no Arsenal fans complaining about that. We need to get away, Kenny. Yeah, we need to get away. The fan base needs to get away from all of this. He can do a job. We've had enough seasons where people told me players can do a job. We had it with Rob Holding, we had it with El Nene, we had it with Lacazette, we've had it with loads of players that they can do a job, and it didn't never did we win a major honor with these players that can do a job. So that argument's dead in the water. Then it was the argument when we wanted more quality on the bench. Oh, but you're going to stunt Saka's growth, Martinelli's growth. When this manager
you're right. You're at a big club, and you've got to think about the situation. These Highlanders, if they're good enough, then they'll get games. If they want it badly enough, they'll get games because that's what happens in football. Yeah, because that's what your academy's for. Don't get me wrong. Only probably out of all the players who are in an academy, only about, and I say it's only about 0.1% are going to make it in the first team, and only about 10% of those people in the academies are going to have careers elsewhere. That's the situation. There's always players coming through, and the pressure and the competition is really intense. But the situation is, it's a challenge to all those players now. It's a challenge that next season when
Trossard coming in didn't stunt Martinelli's growth. If anything, it asked more of him. It's asked more of him. It's made him more sharp. It's not been like, all of a sudden Martinelli's not performing. Because we're sitting here now saying he played really well, and then Trossard comes off the bench with a point to prove, and then goes and scores. And that's what you get with competition. With competition, the manager doesn't have to say anything. The players create competition within themselves to push themselves because they know they're fighting for their places. When it's too comfortable, you get things that we've had this season. Yes, Saka's been very good, but Saka's very comfortable because Saka knows whether he drops a stinker or not, he's starting no matter what.
Yeah,
but Martinelli knows
down to Mikel. Mikel still, if you look at the way Arsenal play, the only player that is sure of their place in that team is Bukayo Saka. Everything goes through him. I've got this little joke amongst us all, and I've probably told you that joke. Give the ball to Saka, and he win, and everything's okay. And that's how Mikel is. Mikel really, really loves this player to the extent that I think that if we were to get a Pedro Neto and play him in Saka position, he'd just say to Saka, you know what, false number 9, mate. Go and be another Bell. That's how I feel. And I've got this suspicion that Mikel won't get a striker because of the fact that psychologically he's got to change he's got to change his whole philosophy, his whole team plan to an ethos to get to around a new player. Because when you get a striker and you spend loads of money on them, 100 million, 150 million, whatever they are, morally you have to make them focus on everything you do. You have to change the way you play because you want them in the game. You want them to win matches for you. But Mikel don't think like that. Mikel has this plan where he wants control off the ball. He wants people to work off the ball, and then all these places are into place. I get a feeling Mikel prefers to play with a false number 9 because he thinks that if he plays with a target man and a focus, that means we're getting the ball. We're playing longer passes. We're getting the ball forward a lot quicker. And then when you get the ball forward a lot quicker, what happens is that if you lose the second ball, you get done in the counter-attack. Mikel hates counter-attacks. You know what I mean? And that's why I do have my suspicions about this striker thing and where the reason why we won't get a striker is because I think Mikel, psychologically, needs to get his head around the fact that he wants all of this, his way of playing, the utopia of, never being done on the counter-attack, being in control, and then having a striker fits into that. Right now, I don't think Mikel feels an out-and-out striker fits into that situation. And I think I was shocked that they got Haaland, Man City, because the way Pep plays, it was always like kind of a false number 9. Like the only time you saw an out-and-out striker was David Villa in Barcelona when they won the Champions League in 2011. Apart from that, you never
Lewandowski at Bayern.
But that was Lewandowski. That was it. But if you look at when Pep first won that Champions League in 2009, that domination, He tried He tried Ibrahimovic. You know, he got rid of that and said, "All right, this is Messi's team." And I think that it's taken for him to change his mind with Haaland. But when Haaland's out of the team, I don't think Pep's that bothered because he can go back to, playing with that false number 9, where the team's still dominating, still effective. I get the thing with Mikel, the same situation. I don't think nothing's shouting at me that's saying that this big striker that Mikel's on about. All it is speculation from Fabrizio. We may be in for Ivan Toney. I haven't heard anyone saying we're in striker. I've never heard anyone talk about Osimhen. But what I have
that's why
seen,
we're critical, though. But that's why we're critical because when people say, "Oh, you guys are being harsh," on the all for nothing, whether we won or lost, what is Mikel's backroom staff doing? Sitting down with players. Oh, you didn't do well in that phase of play. Let's go and play the videos back. You guys, you're not in the right position. You're not doing this. You're not tracking back. Is that harsh? That is what a manager does. You think there was a game where we lost. He comes back in the backroom staff and starts shouting at them about what you're not getting back. You're not tracking your man. You're not doing this and that. You think is that negative? Is that being harsh on the players? No. If any manager after a game is always going to assess what goes well and what goes wrong. And that's the thing I don't like about Arsenal fans sometimes. Oh, if you criticize, you're being harsh, you're being negative. Well, is it negative for Mikel Arteta to call out the players? Because after the game, he's calling out the players. We saw it in the all for nothing. So this ain't a speculation. He's telling them what they're not doing right, what they can work on, which aspect of their game that they can work on. So this whole thing about being harsh, bro, that all of that needs to stop, bro. Like at the end of the day, he's left us in a situation that we are going to be critical because we have valid reason to be skeptical about us winning the league when you've not addressed the bench and you've not addressed what you've not addressed in getting rid of Aubameyang all them years ago and not replacing him with another goal scorer. And since then, we have not won anything, let alone a major honor. We've not won anything. We're getting kicked out of the cup early, And the thing is, even in our demise under Arsene Wenger the last couple of years, at least we still played good football and we won FA Cups. We're not even, we don't play the best football in this league and we don't win FA Cups anymore. So he's got a lot to prove. That's why
last season we played close to the best football, but this season definitely we're nowhere near that. So I think it's only the defensive thing that we can hold on to and say, hey, we're the best defensive team in the league. But I see where you're coming from.
I think that keeps us in a conversation. But in terms of
absolutely.
landing a blow where we think we could do this, I do think the goals. But I think if you look at football these days, strikers are few and far between. And if anyone like has a good season in one of the European leagues, we're talking about Osimhen. 2 years ago, it was Vlahovic. That's a situation because great strikers are rare. And to be honest, most clubs don't really. The centre forwards are dying breed. Is a dying breed. You know what I mean? I do think that teams do sacrifice target men and out and out strikers for genuine control around the midfield and control the whole system. I don't think that.
Let's have it right though. Yeah, let's have it right. There are 20 players that Man City have got as a squad. Arsenal have only got 15. We need 5 more players, in my opinion. A lot of people say, no, we just need a striker. Rubbish. If we had a striker, we'd score some more goals, but we need more than that, right? 100%. And for me, the 5 positions are quite clear. There's 5 positions that we need, and I think everybody knows who they are. I think everybody knows that we need a Saliba position because if he gets cropped, I'm still not sure we have anybody that comes in position. I still feel we need a right winger because we've mentioned Pedro Neto is a player that I'd like to back up for Saka. We clearly need a striker, which is free. I think everybody knows that it's got to be a Osimhen level type that somebody wants. You can throw loads of names if you want, but that needs to be there, surely. Like
you've seen the African nations. Are you impressed with the African nations, Dan, though?
Say again.
You've been impressed with Osimhen in the African nations?
No, you missed too many chances.
I haven't seen any of the African nations.
He was rubbish. I saw him. I did a watch along for Nigeria versus Angola. He was rubbish. He couldn't even score against Angolan fishermen.
I've been told he's looking
rubbish.
poor. I don't know. I haven't seen him at all. So maybe it's Isak or Tony or something. I don't know. But we need a striker, man. So that's that. And then we need 2 in midfield. We need 2 in midfield. 100%, man. There's got to be a Partey and Rice position. So Partey, Rice, Saliba, Jesus, Saka are the players that we need to be looking at, trying to utilise, because at the moment on the bench after our first 11, we've got the goalkeeper we know now is like as good as each other. We've got Tomiyasu and Timber, who've just mentioned, Trossard, who was just mentioned. And if you want to put Havertz or Smith-Rowe in the conversation, I'll let you debate that one out. But for me, other than that, there ain't much from the bench you look at and go, "Cool, that's exciting," and we need to change that.
Should you sell sellable assets in order to get that money back?
Yes, we should have already done that so that we could have made this move in January.
Would you sell Smith-Rowe? Would you sell Smith-Rowe?
I would have sold him. I would have sold him in the summer, and I would have sold him.
I'll sell him not.
But now the value is completely gone. That's the thing that I don't like about Arteta. He kills our players, he kills the value, and then we can't get crap all. And Edu, we know we can't sell for crap. We still have Cedric and El Neni laying around here, you know. And for me, we lost last season primarily not because we stopped scoring goals, it's because Holding was there, and he's just not good enough. And we knew that for like 5 years, and we didn't do anything about it. And then it came to bite us again. I mean,
surprise.
How do you play him against Haaland?
Re-signing a player that's not good enough to a new contract.
Like, come on, what do you expect?
Surprise. Re-signing a player to a new contract that ain't worth much doesn't protect no value. That was a blatant lie. That's why I never bought that. That was the justification. We're protecting the value in re-signing some of these players.
Who are you talking about? Sorry, specifically?
Well, El Nene, did we not re-sign him? And Ketia?
Yeah, El Nene, Cedric, Reece Nelson, and Ketia, all of them.
And you said something about, when I said we no longer play the best football, you said about our defensive record, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of this fan base has got behind it. So why did they get so outraged when I say, when I say we can get another manager, and they say, what manager? And I say Simeone. Oh, we don't want Simeone. But yet this season it's been controlled football and defensive football. And
I don't get that either.
So if I could address that. So I totally hear you, man. And that's what I'm saying. Look, I hear what you're saying. We haven't addressed the issues. And we all know that. That's why I'm saying if we get knocked out of the Champions League against Porto and we drop out of the title race, all the questions gonna be asked, right? You had all the money. You've had the most money that any Arsenal manager have had, and you decided to spend it on Havertz when we could have gotten Kudus. We could have gotten that guy who went to Aston Villa, Diaby. We could have gotten a lot. There was a lot of options we could have gone for, and we decided to go for Havertz, and that might come back and bite us. So I totally hear you. I think if this all goes downhill from here, I'll question him myself. But at the moment, I just hope that we don't get to that point, because I don't want to redo this whole rebuild. Like, we've gone through a lot to get here.
You think about it. We won't need to rebuild. You got the question we need to look at ourselves is, I think if we were to ask ourselves, has Mikel Arteta done a good job? We'd probably say yes. Has Mikel Arteta got a team in a position where he's part of a conversation? In terms of like winning silverware and challenge for the title, we'd probably say yes. But the answers we want is Mikel Arteta the main, who's going to be able to get us over the line, like who's got the experience of winning big games on a consistent basis and getting big performances out of his players, and turning the good players we have into consistent performances season after season. Because that question is going to be asked in May. Because the reason why we do ask for these big names like your Ancelotti's, your Klotz, your
Allegri once upon a time when Wenger,
Guardiola, and to a certain extent Jose, although Jose for some reason isn't getting the big jobs, he's just getting jobs that he's got, like Roma, where he's got no chance of winning Scudetti. But those kind of big names, because that those managers have proved that they can get the best players, manage the best players, and get to playing consistently well week in, week out. And I think that's where we need to get these players to the next level. We want a situation where Saka is consistent week in, week out, seasons after season. Martinelli, Odegaard, those players.
Is he not? Are we saying that Saka hasn't not? I mean, for me, Saka has been consistent for like 4 years.
Yeah, but what I'm talking about right now, it's about levels now. We know Saka can get us into that situation where we probably like a European places top 4. What about winning the league? Those are the sort of.
For me, I think we have the level. I think it's the bench that's not there. Let's say maybe Jesus not there, and the 8. Those are the only 2 positions in the starting 11 that I'm like, okay, maybe not consistent, maybe not at the level yet to win the league. I think everything else in the starting 11 for me, almost, if not competing
and
to be the best in their position in the world right now.
That's the thing. But, it's one of those things, sometimes there are managers who can only get you to that situation. Now you want that manager to say, right, season after season. Like you look at Liverpool. I know a lot of Arsenal fans say, why you mention Liverpool all the time? It's quite a pertinent question because players like Mane, they bought Mane from Southampton, Liverpool did, right?
For nothing.
Klopp turned him into a player that performed week in, week out, season after season. He turned him a season pro. Salah, he was playing for Burn. Then he went to Chelsea. He probably didn't track back enough for Mourinho's liking. Went to Roma, basically re-established his reputation. Went to Liverpool. Klopp's turned him into a season performer, week in, week out, and that's what we really, really want because we want to. As much as we do rate some of our players, we want to get over it. We want to get to the situation that we want to stop asking. We want to stop saying, "Oh, I can't wait for Martinelli to, do it on a regular basis." I want to be a situation where I want Martinelli and Saka, although you say Saka's at that level already. I want them to be like how Warren and Salah were. You know what I mean?
So
week in, week out.
My only question to you now is: do we consider age? Because I totally hear your point; it's very valid. But we have to remember that the age of the players that we have is very young compared to Salah, Mane, in their, Robertson, Trent, Fabinho. I mean, they were probably like
you say that, but when Mourinho went to Chelsea in 2005, Iron Robin was 21.
Yeah,
John Terry was 24 when he lifted that title. Big Frank was 26. He was his birthday would have been it was a month away from his 27th birthday. Drogba was about 26, 27. Petr Cech was only 22, 23. So that's a young team who Mourinho turned to winners. Because remember Chelsea, before Mourinho went there, they were a team that were on the cusp of doing something, but we all saw them as yellow bellies, weak links. They were a bit like how they describe Arsenal, good on the eye when there was no pressure, but when there was pressure, they used to hide and they were beatable. He told them to season performance. These were young players, and this is what we want from Mikel. Despite the fact they had a lot of money, it was the mentality that they didn't have before Jose went there. That's what we want to have with our players. When I had that mentality where they're game managers, they don't need Mikel micromanaging. Yeah, they say, Mikel, shut the hell up, mate. We can shut up. We can deal with it.
I don't think we're close to being there, unfortunately, because we're too micromanaged, right? And I think that takes a lot of the creativity and some of the issues we've had. I think is because we've taken that out of our game. We're not unpredictable, right? Not like with Sanchez at the ball. You have no idea what he's going to do. He's going to dribble 3-4 players and then smash it in the back of the net. We don't have that anymore. That's been sucked out of our game because we're so detailed. Every player knows their role, and they're so scared that if I do something else, I'm going to get pulled out this team, right? So
you have to do that. I've got something to tell you. When you're at the ground, if an Arsenal player hits a long pass, Mikel is going absolutely berserk. He's right. Yeah. I can really see him. If where I sit, I look to my left and I see his reactions. If a player isn't tracking back, he goes absolutely berserk. If a counter attack happens, he goes mad. He likes short passes.
Role.
Yeah, he likes short passes, and I swear every time there's a break or a player gets injured, he's calling the players over. Or if a player takes a throw and he holds the ball, he's basically in control of everything. And he kicks every ball.
He's a control freak, for sure.
But it's the micromanaging where if we are going to be successful, we need leaders to say, Mikel, just come on, mate. Mikel, I'm dealing with it. And now, that's what you want to get, that sort of transition.
It's make or break for him, to be honest, right? As I said, again, if this all collapses, then questions are going to be raised, and we know the owners are going to back him for sure, without a doubt. But the fan power, we've seen how it's grown over the last few years, right? With how the Kroenke have started investing money, that we really have a power and voice. So even if the Kroenkes are backing him, I think if it gets to that point where we completely finish with nothing this season, we get Champions League next year, but that's it. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely it will, man. Listen, we're going to wrap it up there. Absolute pleasure. I enjoyed this chat, people. Make sure you do me a favor. There's been well over 400 of you for the majority of this. Make sure that you like this stream and make sure that you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you do me a favor and go over to Kenny Ken as well on Instagram. He's always putting out content. Make sure you go to Northside LDN's YouTube channel as well. I'm sure you will enjoy that very, very much. And listen, big up to the African Gooner, man. Thank you so much. Debut on the channel, my bro. How can people follow you, my friend?
Mate. Nice to meet you, African Gooner.
Thanks. It's been a pleasure. About to hit 45K on Twitter or X. So yeah, you can follow me there.
Nice one, man. Make sure you go and hit the like button over on the content of the African Gooner as well. Listen, people, I'm glad you've enjoyed this one. I've enjoyed it. It's been good chat. Normally it's good therapy, but this time it's been actually good chat, which is always a good sign. It means Arsenal must have been winning. Big up to everyone for coming on. Make sure you smash a like on the way out. We'll see you next time. Take it easy. We're out of here, up the Arsenal. Peace.
I need to clear something up. We're